specs on, but I'm
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grip's most popular webinar ever. It's official. So we are all here for um, our webinar all about AI acquisition. So I think you're kind of wondering, what is AI acquisition? Well, are your sales team spending way more time searching than actually selling? That's the question. Are they using kind of the old ways to find sponsors, exhibitors, attendees? Just it's not relevant anymore in this AI powered world. And in this world, we have all these new tools. There's been a Cambrian explosion of tools like Clay, Apollo, all these things that are powered by LLMs, which is helping event organizers find good fit sponsors, exhibitors, and attendees at scale for their events because it's all about growth. So I can see everyone's filtering in to the webinar, which is brilliant. I mean, this is crazy numbers. So well done to my lovely panelists for being here because it's all about you. You're the ones that made this happen. So thank you. I'm going to introduce them first. I am Hugh. I'm the SVP of Marketing at Grip, and I'm going to be hosting the webinar today with my great panelists, who includes Vanessa and Sharon. Vanessa, can you tell us a bit about you, your background, where you're from, and what you're doing these days?
Yes, of course. It's great to be here. So I'm Vanessa Lovett. I run Event Tech World, which is a community for buyers and users of event technology. And that's given me lots of exposure, not just to the great exhibitions and commercial events businesses of this world, but also to the sponsors and the exhibitors of those businesses, of those events, and how they are also trying to enrich their data and get great value from the events that they're exhibiting and sponsoring at too. I also work at FT Live in the strategy department, and I've worked in commercial events for approaching 21 years now. So been around a little while, and we're all on this amazing journey at the moment, learning about all these new tools. As you've said, Hugh, it's quite a minefield, but it's an exciting one, and there's opportunity that we have still yet to tap, I think is what I would say. And I'll pass the baton over to Sharon.
Thank you. Sharon, can you tell us a bit about you and what you do, please?
Yeah, sure. Hi. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Terrapinn. So Terrapinn's a B2B event owner. We own our events. We do 90 globally. Large scale events from large trade shows with about 35, 40,000 attendees to convexes. Our sweet spot's around 3 to 5,000 attendees. So global, many different industries. So yeah, we deal with a lot of language and all sorts of things. And so we're looking for lots of sponsors and exhibitors and for attendees too. So my background is marketing. Vanessa just made me feel even older because I've worked at Terrapinn for 31 years. So, and I started as a marketing exec back in the 90s. So, and I've run a business, run our Asian business for quite some time. So, got different perspectives on it, run sales teams, but really a marketer at heart as well. So,
So
yeah.
Sharon, we both remember sending out invitations to events by fax and sales team sharing a computer and all of these
Still
glorious
miss
things.
fax. I miss direct mail. I keep talking about bringing back direct mail actually, and I think actually it might come back at some point. But yes.
Let's
No,
bring back direct mail. I'm on that as well. I
I
think
don't
this
miss
is.
the fax, but I do miss direct mail.
I used to stand by the facts and just be putting factors in
Yeah,
non-stop. So is anyone actually reading this at the other end? What amazing technology.
yeah.
Anyway, that's great. I think the first thing to say is that welcome to the panelists. And this whole webinar was kind of invented, I suppose, by Sharon, because I saw a LinkedIn post from her about how she is using Clay. So we're going to get into that. And Clay is this new tool for identifying your total addressable market, enriching all the data, finding all the good stuff, using AI about who your potential attendee, sponsor, and exhibitors could be. I first want to come to you, Vanessa, and when we're talking about AI acquisition, AI powered acquisition, what are we talking about here when it comes to commercial event organizers? Why do they need to use AI? Don't they just like get a list from somewhere and just blast emails to them?
I mean, yeah, you can do that, Hugh, but I would suggest in today's world, it's probably not the most efficient use of people's time. And I think that's really there's so many different elements to this. People are moving roles and jobs all the time. people don't want to hear from us anymore. Let's be honest. Sometimes it's really damn hard to get through. And the people who do want to hear from us are incredibly hard to find. There's no magic beacon that we can find by just following the old routes and the old paths to see who are the most likely sponsors, who are the most likely sponsors to come back, who may have had a break, who are the most likely attendees. And yes, we know how to model that to a certain extent through time. Time's taught us how we can do this, and we've been doing this manually for a really long time. But there are tools out there that can, not necessarily will, being quite specific with my words there, that can, with the right use and the right application, help to open up some new avenues that should be time efficient and also convert better if we do this right. It's not a will, though. I think that's the crucial bit of what I'd say there. These tools exist, they're exploding, they're popping up all the time, and they won't definitely help. And the way you use them is super important. And also making sure you're trying to use the right things to get the right outcomes, I think, is also important as well. But really, in a nutshell, if you want your salespeople doing more selling and less searching, then this is probably a really good avenue for you to explore.
Thanks very much. Yeah, and I think it'd be good to come to you now, Sharon, to talk about how you use certain tools. And one of them in particular is Clay. And as I say, if no one's aware of that one, we use it at Grip as well. So it's a LLM powered tool to search for the right people who fit your ideal customer profile, your ICP. And Sharon, can you just tell us how Terrapinn uses it? Because I think it's fascinating. You've got a great kind of workflow here.
Yeah, I'm talking a good game on it. It's hard, and it's different to, I think, how we've executed on a lot of this stuff in the past. So, I mean, if I'm the way that we're working on it, and what we call our Clay Playbook, is we are taking our attendees, or the whole lot, sponsors, exhibitors, attendees, everybody, for a show. We're putting them into Clay and we're enriching them so that you can get lots of different, and every event is different. You're looking for different buying signals, buyer signals, or different enrichments for each of these different profiles that depending on the event, depending on whether a buyer or seller. So we go through and we enrich them. Then we're putting those into a GPT. And what we're then looking at then is then getting it to help us identify the ideal customer profiles, the ICPs, for the sponsorship side, so the sellers to this market, and then to the attendees, so the buyers within this market. And there are others in between, but generally they'll fall into one category or another, or there might be a third. And so we're looking to do that. So then we can really define who the target market is, who are the ICPs, and what do they look like. Once we've got that, then we can feed that back in. Then we can feed that ICP back into Clay and go and find more people that look like these people. And there are several different ways of doing that. So, in a nutshell, that's what we're doing. So then we can grow out who the audience is on both sides, on the seller side and then on the buyer side as well. And then we can drop them into relevant campaigns on whether we want them to be attending, VIPs, speakers, or we want to sell to them. So that, I've made it sound super simple, but in its essence, that is the top level of what we're doing.
So tell me how you did it before. Go back to the bad old days of when you did it manually. What would be your process?
This time last year.
Right, yeah.
Not that old in days.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it was, some of it, I think the honest answer is we'd say we do the analysis, but it's pretty hard, right? To get, when you've got, even if people are ticking boxes on forms when they register, we all know they tick the top one. Even if you randomize it, then you're just going to get an even more random sample, or everyone puts in other and puts in lots of unstructured data that then you've got to try and resolve. And, we've never really been able to get really hardcore data on people in that way. So what we often do is go, oh yeah, well, the data's, we've got like 20% of the data we can trust and the other 80% is nonsense. Therefore, yeah, what do you think? And what do you think? And so a lot of it is experience, gut feel, knowledge of the market, talking to the market. So a lot of it was just coming out of people's guts and heads, I guess, really. And that's where a lot of it came from. And, depending on how connected or how experienced that team is, depending on where you might go. And inevitably, being human, you're going to miss some of the maybe the nuggets that you haven't, that the data's showing you, but you're not seeing. So yeah, so a lot of manual stuff. And I'm not saying that's being taken away completely, because someone's still going to go and look at what's coming out the ICP and go, oh, well, that's nonsense. Or yeah, that's good, but there's only 10 companies in that profile. So we can't go and bet everything on that. So you still need to put the human back in. But now it's, rather than that being front loaded, that's being probably mid loaded and going, okay, is what we're getting out of this? Does this make sense? Is it missing something? Are we missing a profile? Do we need to put this in? Are we changing the event? Do we need to add something in there? So I guess just flipping it around, that the human's coming in later rather than relying on the human too much.
Can I ask Sharon a quick question, Hugh? Just I find it all so fascinating. Do you find this has given you more scalability on sort of volumes compared to when it was human led only this time a year ago? Is Clay opening up more data, more ICPs?
Honestly, it will do. It's not, we've just been having meetings about this. Any of our team are on the webinar, they'll know we're trying to scale it now. And that is one of the problems we're having, is how to scale all of this, because it's taking a different approach, and you still got to write a brief at the top of where you're starting on a lot of this stuff. But it's taking a different approach on it, and we're actually pulling events together. So we do a lot of geo cloning. So our big brand is solar and storage. We run it in 19 cities around the world. So we're trying to do once for all of them, and do that once. So scalability should be able to give us efficiencies if we can do that correctly. That's going across multiple teams, multiple countries, that we need to get all that insight into place. So it should be, but I'd love to say we could scale it right now, but we can't.
Early
The
days.
problem we're having is getting the people then can operate Clay to any level, and not everyone is the same. As much we love a template at Terrapinn, like we love a best practice and everything else, but actually as you go into each of these different event sectors, we're realizing there's different signals you want to be looking for, and so it does need someone else having oversight and looking at it. So yeah, we're hoping we can scale it. Yeah,
Because I
January.
mean, this is the thing, isn't it? I mean, there are so many tools out there. Clay is just one of them. Vanessa, you've come across quite a few in your travels, haven't you? That are all AI powered now, and that seem to be
Yeah.
helping organizers do more with less.
Yeah, I think that it's early days still on the helping. You mentioned Apollo already. We had, before this started, a brief conversation about bright data, which has popped up for me a couple of times from organisers who are interested in getting some results from that. But we're all still experimenting and learning. And there are, of course, the really, I'd say, probably quite fundamental basic data enrichment tools that you can use as well, like Lusha or Lucia, I'm never entirely sure how you say it, Cognism, Surf with an E at the end. There's loads of these out there now, which are perhaps a good step in the right direction at least. And one of the reasons I'm super fascinated with Sharon's case study with Clay is I have heard from the other side, from the exhibitors, when they're sponsoring exhibitions, how they're then taking a similar approach, excuse me, a bit husky today, to the leads that they're gathering on the booth. So through whatever device they're using to scan, to then take those leads and what they're doing with them then to lead score them, enrich that data, expand that data, understand how they can really build that out based on the experiences they've had at the shows that are taking place. So I think it's fascinating that it's happening in so many different ways within the events industry. And I also wonder what the opportunity is there in the longer term. Like right now, we're all looking at how can I do this for myself and for my own organization. But if the next stage is actually, how can I do this for my exhibitors to help my exhibitors get a better return and a better response from their investment with me? Because if they're doing this themselves at the moment because there's no alternative, is that something in the longer term? And by long, I don't mean next month. I think for most organizations, this would be longer down in the future. But I find that quite exciting as well, because this is more value, and sponsors always pressing for more value, more evidence, more proof of impact from the event. So perhaps that's something we might be able to help them with in the future.
Well, that's exactly what we're looking at, and we are very close to putting it in. So what we
Great.
want to be doing is to stop asking all of those ridiculous questions on the form that no one fills out, and probably stops a fair proportion of people registering.
Yeah.
Is to go through and as someone registers, we don't need to ask that because we'll push you through Clay. We'll get all the information we can get that we need from you, and then push that back, and then to close that loop, as you described, we could then send that data to a sponsor and exhibitor and go, hey, we think you should meet these because of these reasons. So that is, yeah, that's the circle we're trying to close. I just drew a square, but I'm saying circle. But anyway,
going with it.
the circle that we tried to close. I'm doing that.
Well, before I get into my next question, because actually we've had a question from the audience, which is genius. So I'm going to ask you guys that. But I'm just going to do a quick sponsor message, which is our next webinar is coming up. And I know there's a hell of a lot of people on this webinar. So even if we get 10% of you scanning the QR code and coming to this webinar, that would be fantastic. So it's the Chief Event Officer's Playbook, How to Create Transformational Events. We have the amazing Sasha Fries, who's written the book on this topic. So she is an author. In January, she'll be joining the webinar with Abby Cannons from Grip, talking about how you can create these transformational events, probably using AI, and really delving into our book. And we're going to be giving away copies of her book as well. So
awesome.
Please scan. I'll chuck it in the chat as well.
I didn't know this was coming up for you. I've read it. It's brilliant.
Oh, you've read it already?
I have. I've been fortunate to see Sasha 3 times in November, and it's getting rave reviews. So I think she's a fantastic panelist to have on. That's really cool.
Right. Well, while people are scanning that QR code and registering, I'm going to ask the first question, which is from Kieran. And the question is, how can Clay help you get the ICPs that don't have obvious job titles? So, for example, a technical director for a big construction company, like a tier one contractor, could work on the roads, but could work on building schools. So you don't actually know what they're building. So you know they're in construction, but how do you know they work on schools? I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to go to Sharon. Do you use any other tools to help, or is it all done in Clay? Well, I think the first thing to say before I hand it to Sharon is see Clay as your operating system that has all the other tools plugged into it. So you can use Apollo, you can use several different tools like Built With, that all plugged into the system, and you use a little bit of credits for each one. And some credits, it costs a lot to use some tools, some less. But see it like it's an app store with all these different apps that help enrich your data in different ways. Sharon, I'm going to hand over to you, and then Vanessa, feel free to chip on this answer.
I'm not an expert on construction, but just thinking about this off the top of my head, what you could do is you could go and scrape that construction person's website and find their clients. And then if their clients match what you're looking for, you could say, yeah, that's good. So you can go scrape their website. So you could do that. You could look at what they're talking about on social. You could go and look at their profile on social. We were just literally talking about this today in our meeting, and someone said, I want scientists, but I don't just want any scientists. I want them to be in a certain therapeutic group. And so we were discussing exactly this, that their job title will be scientist. So job title is almost nonsense. But you've got to go and look for other signals, and that will be different for each group. So off the top of my head, yeah, I'd probably go and look to scrape their website, go and look at what they're writing about on social, go and look at their social profile, go and look at their company's social things, and try and Perplexity can help you through Clay, go and extract all of that. Again, I made it sound easy, but it's not.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to give away secrets to our competitors who might be on the call, but at Grip, we have a little plugin for Clay, which is called Built With. And Built With will look at the event website and tell you what registration provider they're using. Because Clay then enriches that data saying, oh, these are the events, and then this is the possible reg provider they're using, because we can see from the URL that they're using this registration tool, and that helps us then sell our registration tool
We're
to.
using that for a different use. So we're using that to look at for visitors. So for example, we do an accounting and finance show. So we could go in and put in who's using Zero, for example, who's using Intuit, and then go and pull up people who are already using their technology and then go and try and get them to come to the show as well. So we're using that same thing, flip as well.
Yeah, it's very powerful, but if you know how to use it and what to look for, because
Yeah.
the other, like you say, scraping websites is a good one. So it won't automatically tell us what event app they're using by looking at their website. But if you scrape the FAQ section, it says, oh, if you need help with your event app, look at
Mm.
this support page, which happens to be the event provider's support page. So therefore, we could find out which events are using which event apps to help us in our targeting. Vanessa, it seems like you've got a few points on that.
Oh, have I? Sorry, I didn't
I saw
mean
you
to.
unmute. I was like, oh, she's ready to jump
No,
in.
I'm so sorry. I keep
I
muting
was gonna
because
I
I
was
keep
gonna jump in.
coughing. No, go for it, Sharon. I keep muting to stop you hearing me coughing. So sorry, Sharon, your turn.
Well, I was just going to jump in because some of this stuff, look, it sounds great and all of that, but you've still got to have someone then go through that and go like you're saying, oh, what's the event app they're doing? So I think one of the other things is we tend to think in volume. And so a lot of this stuff, you need to be pulling this down and looking at smaller data sets and then working it out and then waterfall, cascading that down. And they're what they call waterfalls is going through different data sources and working out which is the best one on a small set and working that through and testing. You can spend a fortune on Clay or any of these tools and just get a load of rubbish out of it or wrong stuff like the Kieran was asking about, if your event is about building schools and they're building roads, totally not relevant. But I'll have the roads people. We've got a roads event, so we'll take those.
You could do a barter system.
Yeah.
I think that's the only thing I would add really, Hugh, is there are a lot of different tools, and by no means would I suggest trying to test all of them because you literally will never be able to. But I think you have got to test a few things and you've got to try and be prepared to have a couple of failures with them because some will fit better for your needs than others. And we were talking about this whilst we were prepping briefly that all of these platforms tend to incentivize you very heavily with an annual license, but actually taking on a 2 or 3 month license, which might cost you more in the shorter term, but evaluating, is this going to get me a good output, is probably a better way to approach some of these than just going all in straight away. So I think, Kieran, some trial and error is probably what you're going to have to do. And remember, that's going to take time, it's going to take resource, which means those people won't be doing something else instead. So there's always is it worth it is a big question with some of these tools as well. But if you find the right ones, it should be.
Yeah, and quite a lot of them now have a free tier. So Clay, I think you can get 50 rows, they call them, which at least gets you to see if it's good enough. We're using a tool called RB2B at the moment, which is de-anonymizing web traffic. A lot of it is American only, and we can only really get the American visitors to our site to understand who they are. But that's fine because it was a free tier. So we were able to look at the free tier. Fair enough, we might go over our limits, but at least we can justify it without having to go through, a whole business case and all the issues of signing off budget and all of that. Let's just look at the free tools and see what we can get out of it. I think the other point to make is around your ICP, because Vanessa, you talked about shit in, shit out, basically. If you
Yeah.
don't understand who your ICP is, all these tools are going to do nothing for you because
Yeah.
it's not going to be the right data in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, you're just building data, but so what, frankly, if it's the wrong data. And actually a lot of this I think comes back to what have you already got? So many of the things we're talking about is expansion, but actually looking at your existing CRM and thinking about what AI is already available to you in your existing CRM package and putting that to really good work is very often a better place to start than going off and looking at whole new tools, or is probably a bit of a blend of both for many. But in HubSpot, lots of AI tools now, not available in every tier, I realize. Salesforce Einstein can be really powerful for helping identify previously churned sponsors and exhibitors and helping you get set up to re-engage them. And there are tools most likely in your existing CRM system, AI tools that can help with getting your data in a good state in the first place. There were some questions that came in around personalization and what role that plays in all of this. And fundamentally, you're not going to be able to personalize unless you've got quality, well-directed segments in your CRM system already, and you're really setting yourself up for success there. Without that, you're going to really, really struggle. So thinking about what's already in your CRM system, I would suggest it's a really good place to to start as well.
And for you, Sharon, this must be really important because you've got like 90 shows and you need to know who the buyers and suppliers are and have a really fixed definition of each to then spend the time and money to go and do all this enrichment and all this work.
Yeah, well, I mean, the other problem that we're having is data has become very accessible compared to what it was even a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. I mean, we've been on Apollo the last 2 years, and we've seen, I don't know if anyone saw another LinkedIn post I wrote this week about our event last week in Rail, where the attendance has gone up 24-25%, I think. And when I did a little bit of poking around it, we tried some really nice fancy AI stuff on it. So we had an AI calling agent calling up in Spanish, trying to get last year's visitors to rebook. We had some WhatsApp messaging going out, doing badging and all sorts of stuff. And I can't remember, we had another one on the website. We had all sorts of different AI little bits and pieces we were testing on it. And then when I picked it about, we built twice as much data. I think actually I can't remember my numbers now from my post. Maybe it was 4 times as much data. Spent 38% less on data. Emailed out 2.5 times more, and then got 25% more response. So just to me, it just always comes back down to data. So when talking about AI and AI tools, I'd look at the data stuff first. That's where the response comes in. It's always, like you're shit in, shit out. I mean, if you're emailing shit out, it's not going to respond. You're not going to get anything. So it's absolutely starting there rather than on a lot. We've been doing a lot of this shiny stuff going on as well, as just because I'm interested in it and we're a bit greedy, I guess. But actually, when it comes down to it, where we're seeing the real response is when we've really looked at this ICP, really looked at the data, and had some real successes in that. And then the other compounding problem we've now got is storing all this data is now becoming problematic. So that's just created another issue that we're trying to solve as well.
So how are you going about solving that?
Paying a lot of money to vendors at the moment to store it until we can come up with a better solution. So yeah, probably going to have to move provider, to be honest. But yeah, you take from one and give to the other, right? It's like it's been moving the money around a little bit. But yeah, I mean, we are looking at how we can store that, how we can hold it more temporary, how Clay can sit on top of. We're on Data Cloud, how we can sit on that, how it can give us just net new and all these kind of things. And just working that through is taking some time.
And we've got a couple of questions coming, but just one thing I want to touch on before I get to those is the types of people who are using these tools, who are owning these tools. It's different, isn't it, from your traditional marketer? What are you finding, Sharon? Who are you employing to do this sort of stuff?
We started by outsourcing it actually, because I mean, our story was that myself and a colleague who lives in Australia are data geeks, always have been. And when I heard about Clay, and I thought, what the hell is this? I need to go. And I went and did the Clay University, which I would recommend everyone go and do. It's about, I think, well, I don't know how many it is now. It was like 11 things. I think I rather sadly spent some of my Christmas, not Christmas Day, but another day in Christmas, just sitting and doing it and trying to get my head around what is all this, what it's about. Sent it over to my colleague, whom we got very excited about it. And then she went, wow, where do we start? Because it's massive, right? And actually, I picked them up off of LinkedIn. They're called Cold IQ. We worked with them for 3 months, and they really help us build out some ICPs, understand what some of this stuff we could do, and then help train my colleague in Australia to do it. And what became quite apparent is we can set up some templates within that. So she's setting up templates that then can be executed by more junior people. But you've still got to have an eye on that. You've still got to be obsessed about data and find that really sexy and interesting. Like, because if it's boring, isn't that you ain't going to be any good at it. You're going to get bored with it. And you've got to really want to love and being that. Whereas a lot of marketing people like the creative side and writing and putting it all together. And doesn't mean there isn't a place for that, absolutely, but that this isn't going to be your job. So probably what was traditionally called marketing ops, which we never split out, we had them as everyone was a generalist. We are now looking, I call them GTM engineers, and we're putting in people that want to do this data part of it. So I think that's always been seen as back office, like marketing ops to me screams back office. I think it's got to be seen as much more, not so much front office, but it's got to be a lot more up there and different. And they're different people.
Yeah, in terms of the different people, what skill sets do they need? Obviously, they need to really deeply understand your ICP because otherwise they'll be searching for data that isn't relevant. What else do these people bring to the table?
So
I
I'm
would like,
asking, sorry,
sorry, well, I would like to chuck in there. I think they've got to be really experimental. Like they've got to be technically competent, experimental, very, very data centric. But I think the technical bit is working out how you bring all of this data information together, getting appropriate points out of your CRM, appropriate points back into your CRM. And ideally, they'll be able to and competent to do that. I massively agree with Sharon. I would have called it back end marketing before. More recently, it's more marketing operations. And it definitely feels like it's becoming more of a strategic part of businesses as opposed to keep the lights on part of businesses, because there's so much growth potential in it. Sorry, Sharon, I interrupted you.
I was going to say they've got to be great AI prompting because a lot of this stuff you can get from AI. So one way of getting around a lot of the Clay credits is that you plug in Perplexity and OpenAI, and you can do a lot of this. So we do a lot of it with, I say we, but there's a lot of it's prompting. So really understanding how to prompt and get the best out of it, out of Clay or out of anything. That's what they've got to be good at doing that, which is a writing job, right? But
Yeah,
just
it is absolutely. I mean, and part of that's coming to the next question, which was someone was talking about a few months back, someone on LinkedIn put a post about promptcowboy.ai, and it's been transformative apparently for
oh,
making much more detailed prompts for their event intelligence GPT. So, if you want to go and check it out, promptcowboy.ai looks like the right place to be. Um, Custom GPTs, that's an interesting one, isn't it, Vanessa? You got some stories about.
Yeah, so this is particularly with regards to sponsor growth. So a member of Event Tech World who was telling me all about how much they've grown sponsorship by using custom built GPTs for each event to identify more sponsors that meet the sponsor ICP. So they feed into it their existing sponsors, they give it all of the background knowledge and intelligence, sponsors over previous years, and then they have various prompt lines to eke out of it who are the other companies that fit the criteria and why. I think that's the really crucial bit that they're getting out. It's not just a list of company names, but it's the company names with the reason that they've been suggested. So starting to get into that hook information. They are then pulling that into their enrichment tools to build that information out and then go and target it, not just through a salesperson trying to contact them, which is what it may have been some time ago, but really expanding it out. And they've seen absolutely great results from it. No special tools, all done through typical LLMs that most of us are now using on a daily basis. So that's quite appealing as a way to get started for a lot. And many people, I think he's been doing it for a good couple of years now. So this is not necessarily new, but there's a lot of ongoing development with it. So it's not just that they set it up and it's done. They're constantly iterating it. And because they've done it for different events, they're all bespoke GPTs to each event to make it even more relevant. And yeah, good results coming out of it.
Yeah, and Barish O'Neill, he's the former chief commercial officer at Terrapinn, has his custom event GPT. That's really good. So you could put your event into it, but what other people are doing and putting their competitors' events in, and learning all about their competitors, and then using that to feed it into Clay to enrich that data and get more insights from the custom GPT, and it's giving you the right stuff at the right time. So it's worth double checking it, but I'll try and find it and put it in the chat so everyone can have a
you
look.
can just put your competitor's URL into Clay as well, and you can scrape everything that's on their site and get all sorts of insights as well. So build sheets. The other thing that we're using is Gong. So we put in Gong.io. We bought it in the summer. We are 2 months into it now, and we haven't yet hooked that up to Clay, but we are looking to do that. But the insights that we're getting from Gong, from recording conversations that our sales teams are having, We're looking to put our conference managers on it at some point as well. But the insights we're getting from there, we can then feed some of that back into Clay. So if we're on a sales call and we're mentioning what technologies we're using, you could feed that conversation into Clay. You could go and scrape the CMO of those three for whatever technologies we just mentioned, and send that back into your sales team and say, okay, go call these competitors that they discussed and things like that. So that's where we're looking at that as well, and hooking up that, and it's very clever. It's expensive, mind.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. You find little hacks and ways to get around the expense, don't you? Like you're saying, plug in APIs of things like Apollo into a Clay. So you're not using your Clay credits to enrich people, you're using the Apollo credits and it's just a plugin. That's one way of making it a lot cheaper, but it can get expensive. Yeah, so just be wary of that. I put in the chat Barris's custom GPT, so have a play with that. The next question we've got is, once you find the data, what's the next step? How do you gain opt-in and grow your database at scale? That's a good
It's a
question.
good question. Yeah. So for me, this is all around segmentation and personalization and work streams, workflows that you will hopefully have access to in your CRM systems. I know most companies will have these. If you're a very small organizer, you may not have a great set of automation tools. It really depends where you're at. But channel and segment and be really specific with different data sets. I think that is the crucial bit. Ideally, you'll set up some integrations as well, so you've got this information going straight into your CRM, as opposed to you having to do manual transfers of data. And again, most organizations, I think, are fairly able to do that now. If you've got to do it manually, you've got to do it manually, but hopefully you will get it all automated.
Yeah, I mean, for us, yeah, I mean, we run off the B2B rules, so we don't get explicit opt-in, but we do explicit opt-out, and we absolutely abide by that. We have nurture flows, and if people are not engaging, we'll move them straight out. We'll move them straight out so that we don't do that. And then if people are engaging, we want them to get onto the website, we want them to fill out a form, we want them to get on a call with our salespeople. So then it's about qualifying them through the funnel. Nothing very different than what we were doing before, but we're getting better response because we're putting better in at the top.
And I think what you were saying there, Sharon, about where there's not engagement, it's using that information as well. So you want to be looking at not just what is working, but what's not working, and refine and reiterate accordingly, because there's a lot to be learned from the non-engagement too. And a lot of CRMs won't let you communicate with non-engaged contacts anymore, which is good. So use that information, don't ignore it.
You can try different channels too, right? So you can be serving them digital advertising, you can go and get matched audiences on a lot of and on the platforms as well. So you can actually try other, it doesn't just have to be email. There are other
In fact, it
channels.
probably shouldn't just be email, should it, really?
Yeah, it's all about multi-touch, isn't it? You kind of warm them up with some LinkedIn ads. You've got emails. You like them or friend them on LinkedIn. Don't connect with them. You can cold call them. It's all part of reaching out and trying to build a relationship. I'm going to get some of the questions up now that we had posed by our great audience. There were some fantastic ones. I like the ones that are all about how do you save money. So, how do you do personalization on a budget? Someone asked. Vanessa, where do you
I'm
start?
look what you've got. Use your existing CRM. That is the best place to start if you are on a budget. The segment, again, I'm going to say it, but really think about how you can set up workflows for each of your segments so that your outreach is targeted and relevant and meaningful to the contacts. And spending time on that is an important element. This stuff doesn't set itself up on its own. So allocate time, do some training internally, upskill. We've sort of touched on the people element of this a little bit. This is probably a good moment to say how, again, important this is to get right. You have to have competency. None of this stuff is as intuitive as we would probably like it to be yet. I'm sure that will improve in time, but just start with your CRM system and really, really, really thorough segmenting. If you're on an absolute budget, that's where I would start on personalization front.
Yeah, I mean, talking about budget, I've done some of the Clay University stuff, and what you learn is that this isn't about creating an AI employee. It's about learning what's working inside your business and then scale it using AI. It's not just completely letting this thing go off and do its own work in the background. It's about actually enabling your team to do more because there has to be a human in the loop. And Jason Lemkin, the founder of SaaStr, that big event, he had a fantastic post about 6 months ago on LinkedIn that he needed a full-time person to do all this AI outreach. And it wasn't just set it and forget it. You're constantly tweaking, you're looking at the copy that it comes out, you're looking at the lists. If anything I've learned over my time in marketing is that there are way more tools coming out than ever before every single year. And what that does is just create more work for marketers and creates new job roles, in fact. So you've gone from marketing ops to GTM engineers in the space of a year. So yeah, don't think this is a magic bullet where you can just use Clay and it will do it all for you because it's just more work actually.
But you can use Clay to do the personalization, right, as well, if you're using that at very small credits, because you can get it to then write messages. So you can go, line 1 would be this, line 2 would be this, line 3 would be this. And you don't need a fancy marketing automation system to do dynamic content, because you can just then fill that in as field 1, 2, 3, 4 or whatever, and then it can go and do it. And it does it all with AI, and it's using, micro credits from OpenAI and stuff to do that. So yeah, there are ways of doing it. But my answer to that would be is don't even think about if you're on a really tight budget, don't worry too much about personalization at the start. Worry about what data you're getting. Spend your money there.
Okay, brilliant answers. Thank you, guys. The next one that I've got is about automating role changes within companies. So you have someone moving a job, quite a useful signal, I suppose. It also makes your database out of date pretty quickly if you don't keep on top of this. So are either of you doing this sort of stuff, seeing when people are moving jobs? Do you have any tools you're
Yeah,
using?
Clay.
Yeah.
I should be on their sales team. But that's the first thing we do. So when we take the attendees, we roll them into Clay. We go and check that everyone exists. We check that if they do exist, that their email is still valid, and we update that, even though we captured it probably a few months before. So we capture that. Then anybody that's left, we push that through. We try to find the replacement in that company, which is a little bit. You can do it, but you've got to be a little bit. It's a bit hit and miss, and you can find out where that person went to as well. And then you need to look at it and go, are they now still matching ICP or not? So, yeah. So you want the new person in the role, and you want where that person went, and then to identify if they are still in ICP or not. So, yeah. Again, it's a lot of prompting in Clay, but it can do it.
I believe Apollo is pretty good for updating job titles as well, but maybe doesn't do all of that enrichment that you've talked about there, Sharon, on that, are they still relevant? I think that's where Clay seems to keep coming up trumps. It's that extra layer of information. So if anyone knows any alternatives to Clay, stick them in the chat, because I'm sure everyone would love to know as well.
Next one is around win back and cross sell. So do any of you use AI to re-engage past sponsors, or even just any tools you might use? Doesn't have to be AI powered, but to re-engage past sponsors and cross-sell attendees across your different events portfolios?
Across the different portfolios is quite an interesting one. And I don't think I could say that has been a specific driver with activities here. But again, I'm going back to CRM. This is a great place to start. Use your CRM. Again, if you have an AI level in it, use the prompting system in your CRM to identify exactly what you're looking for, those churn customers, and how and where and what you're trying to re-engage them in, and ask it for cues on how you should be doing that. So there's a lot you can do with the AI in your CRM systems, and you may not even need to use the AI part of it. So the CRM, in my opinion, is the right way to start with the churn.
We're doing several things on this, because I agree with her. Ross' question. This is a massive opportunity, like to get this going. So one, we use Clay again, but so like with Winback, we'll go and check they still exist and update them and validate them. So we do that. We just talked about that. Cross sell. An example we're just trying here now is we have a big aviation event in Europe. We do the event in Singapore. So we're going to take the European attendees and sponsors, particularly sponsors, and go and find their Asian counterparts. So go and find if they've got an office in Asia, and then go and so we can market to those. So we're trying to do that. But the other thing that we're doing, not talking about Clay, is I alluded to it before. We've trialed an AI calling agent that will go back and call up all of last year's attendees on an exhibition. So we've only done it with free at the moment. We've only tried it once. And where the AI agent would call up and try to and ask people if they want to come back again, and then register them automatically.
How did that go?
It only ended up going to 900 people. We got 500 people connect with the call, and off the top of my head, I think it was something like 34%, I'm going to say, but I could be wrong. But it was a decent percentage of those that then did. We did it a bit late. It was all a bit scrambled at the end, and we've now finished event season. So we're waiting for the next run of events to come, and we're identifying the next lot. But yeah, pretty decent. It's just not cheap though. At I think we paid about £1 a call. That can escalate quite quickly. So again, testing that. We've also sent people WhatsApp messages. So again, you only want to be doing this to valid data. So because otherwise you're getting into meta problems. But we'll send that to previous attendees and ask them if they're coming again. And then get them to register, and we've actually got it through Agentforce to be able to take the registration, so it can say, "Hi Hugh, you came last year. It's on again in 2 weeks. Are you coming?" And you go, "Yeah, I do want to come." And then it says, "I'll register you." And then you go, "Great, thanks." And it does it. And then you get the ticket in your inbox. So it's quite sweet. We've had bigger success on that. And because then we're controlling it, and it's cheaper to be sending the WhatsApp messaging than this calling agent. So we're trialing lots on this space, and I agree with whoever asked the question, because it's a big place to try and get these people to come back and bring a friend. It'd be even better, right? So
Any insights on what the conversion rate of the show ups is like with those WhatsApp registrations, Sharon?
yeah, pretty decent actually. And one thing that we did notice, because what we also did is we then also send you your badge, a QR code to collect your badge on site, and we do it through WhatsApp now. So great, we're always saying this, but we rather than saying, we used to say, "Go and get it on the app, go and get it on the app." What we've been doing now is sending it to them on WhatsApp, and we've on one show, well, two shows, the average we had a 5% uplift in show up rate from previous years, and okay, it could be many things, but we're putting a lot of that down because you can't track it very well on WhatsApp, so you've got to take some of it as, just go, yeah, it's because I put that on that it works. But we've been seeing an increase in show up rate. I don't know to split down versus those that were also then registered on WhatsApp. I haven't got that bit down, but we're finding WhatsApp is a really, really powerful channel, and where emails becoming harder to get delivered and to opens, etc. We're finding WhatsApp and just, but not abusing it, because the thing about WhatsApp is it's in the control of the customer. They can just hit block. If too many people hit block or report, that's it. Meta just shut you down. You've got no choice. You're gone. So you've got to be pretty careful with what you're doing.
Yeah, I think that goes for all tools, doesn't it? I mean, we just had a question in from someone saying, has anyone else experienced a drop-off in email inbox deliverability since April last year? Now it often goes to the promotions tab, probably in Gmail. Um, if so, what tools do you use for third parties to enhance delivery? Okay, so are you using a tool to make sure your emails are going to the right people, maybe an email cleanser or something that's enabling you to make sure you've got the right emails going to the right people? Are you warming up your domains, all of that sort of stuff?
All of
Well,
that.
yes, but also I think how I'm just reading the question, I interpret this as what are the other channels that you're looking at as well. And there's I moderate an advisory board of exhibition leader marketers, and this absolutely came up, this email deliverability piece in springtime this year, and there was a lot of conversation around advocacy and how to get other attendees to effectively do the marketing for you through social media. And there's quite a lot of research that social media is still one of the biggest influencers of how people choose to behave regarding an event as well. So I think there are tools out there that can help you with that. And the data cleanliness was the other thing that came up repeatedly as well, that if you are going to spend time with your email, making sure you're actually sending good messages to the right people, and it is the correct ICP, going back to Sharon's point as well, put your effort and your time into the right data, as opposed to just hope and a prayer, which you could kind of get away with 10 years ago, but you really definitely can't anymore.
We, again, with Clay, we wash it through Lead Magic. It's one of their waterfalls that you can use. You pay for it, but we wash it through. We used to use something Verify, I've forgotten. Yeah, so we cleanse that email data so that we keep deliverability rates. We're always off of warm IPs. But yeah, trialing other channels. That's the other thing that we're doing a lot. I don't have the analysis if we've seen a drop off, but we're maintaining open rates pretty well. So
yeah, I mean, it's all about multi-channel, isn't it? That's the key. Don't just rely on email. Look at all the different channels. And one of my channels today is the webinar channel to promote my next webinar, which is the Chief Event Officer's Playbook. Please, please, please scan the QR code while we bring this webinar to a close. And I ask our amazing panelists where they can get in touch with them. Sharon, how can people get in touch with you?
LinkedIn is the best place to find me. I love LinkedIn. I'm on it all the time. Post a lot, so I share a lot on there. So yeah, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with everybody.
And I definitely
I'll
recommend
second that.
Sharon's LinkedIn post about Clay and how she uses it. It's really insightful.
And
Vanessa.
many other posts from Sharon are insightful too.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, LinkedIn for me as well. Absolutely. Please don't send me an email because my inbox are horror show. So absolutely, LinkedIn would be great.
Let me guess, you'd get too many AI-powered emails from Clay.
Fortunately,
fills up
many
your
of them
inbox.
now get siphoned off as per the
Yeah.
questioner, saying they go to promotional information. So
Yeah, and someone asked me at lunchtime today, do I use AI for LinkedIn? And I don't. I help it. It helps me draft some messages sometimes, some posts. But yeah, to me, LinkedIn is about being authentic and personal, and so I think that's a space where I
and
can
I
talk
think
about
you
AI,
can
but it not do it for me.
tell by my regular typos in my posts that I don't either.
Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining. It's been great. And yeah, it's been a really fascinating webinar. Lots of tools, lots of stuff to discuss, lots of things to think about, lots of things to test as well. So thank you both for joining. Thank you for all the participants for coming along. And we'll see you on the next one. Thanks very much,
Great.
guys. And we'll
Thank
speak
you.
to you soon.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks,
Cheers.
you.